All right, folks, we are live. Good morning, good morning, good morning. My name is Don Daniel, founder of Pill Method International, a better way to eliminate debt. And today, oh my gosh, let's talk about, hold on, let me get this off the screen here. All right. Okay. Let me see here. I've got something going on in my ear I've got to get rid of. There we go. Got that out of my ear. And we are going to, all right, get this off the screen. All right, listen, folks. This is the last day of the year. Last day of the year. It is New Year's Eve. And today we're going to be talking about a subject that we've never talked about before. It's the terminology is golden handcuffs. Golden handcuffs meaning this. Let me put this on the screen and we'll read a little bit about it. Okay. All right. Golden handcuffs in mortgages describes how homeowners with historically low rates, 3 to 4%, feel financially trapped, making them reluctant to sell and buy a new home at today's much higher rates, even if their current home no longer meets their needs, leading to reduced housing market activity and potential lock-in or locked in of their homes that are either too big or too small. Listen, folks, when we're talking about these interest rates, the pandemic interest rates, 3 to 4%, or some even less than 3%. Okay. Somebody is hit online says, I thought golden handcuffs was my overtime at work. You know, so that is a form of golden handcuffs. That is a form of golden handcuffs. All right. So listen, folks, I want to talk to you about how this is prevalent in today's um, mortgage circles, in financial circles. I even heard it talked about on the financial news yesterday in preparing for our show today. I'm here to tell you that the idea of golden handcuffs, or that the interest rates of 3% or 4%, and some are even less than 3%, I'm here to tell you that those are not the best rates. Those rates actually reduce your ability to leverage your mortgage to pay less interest. It's true. So you are never locked in. You were never locked in. I want you to see the math of the thing and stop listening to the pundits, stop listening to people talk about it. I need you to figure out for yourself what's really going on here so that you can understand what golden handcuffs that really don't exist. You're staying in a home you don't need to stay in if you want to buy a better house. You know, some people are staying locked in a job they don't want, refuse to take a new job because meaning that means they would have to move and get a higher interest rate. And somehow they feel that getting that higher interest rate is letting themselves and their family down because they're giving up that great interest rate of 2.9% or 3% or even 4%. I'm going to show you today that if you can afford the new house at the new rate, if you can afford it, you are better off at the higher interest rate. Are you ready to get into this today and understand what we're talking about? Well, I'm ready to start talking about it myself. So let's go ahead and get started here. Let me find my my intro music here so that we can go ahead and do what we need to do. All right. Where did it go? All right. Okay. Something happened to my stuff. Well, anyway, let's go ahead and jump in. All right. We won't do any intro music today. We're going to jump right in. I need you to listen and listen intently and even take notes. Okay. The idea of golden handcuffs, staying put. Now, I've got some notes here that I'm going to be working with you on. So I need you to listen up here. And I'm going to be looking away from the screen because I don't want to miss a single thing today on this. Staying put because of a low mortgage rate sounds prudent. But that belief is not rooted in math or strategy. A 30-year mortgage was never designed to be a 30-year sentence. Now, I have a new book coming out about the off-label mortgage, where that 30-year mortgage, the amortization of a 30-year mortgage was meant for one thing and one thing only. It was meant to give you more options. We all should go into a mortgage. Listen to me now. I know it's going to be hard to believe. We should all go into a mortgage with the idea of paying it off in 7 to 9 years with our current budget. It's not about throwing more money at the loan. It's about paying less interest. You don't need to make more money to pay your mortgage off in 7 to 9 years. You need to pay less interest. And we're going to be talking about that more in this coming year on how you can do that. But just think, a 30-year mortgage was never meant to keep you in debt for 30 years. Your intention should be to pay it off in 7 to 9 years with your current budget, and you don't have to sacrifice lifestyle to do it. You can live well, go on vacation, buy the car that you want, put your kids through college, do everything you need to do, and still pay off your debt in 7 to 9 years because you're paying a lot less interest. We have been taught to look at this thing all wrong, folks, all wrong. A 30-year mortgage was never designed to be a 30-year sentence. It was designed as a flexible container, a structure that allows the borrower to control when and how exposure to interest ends. You see, when we get a mortgage, when we're buying a house, we're exposing ourselves to interest. So here's the thing. How do I pay less interest? How do I set myself up to pay less interest? And I'm going to show you today that you are setting yourself up to pay less interest at the higher rate than at the lower rates. Everything we've ever learned about this thing is backwards. Okay. So I got some folks on here. I say, Duchess. All right. Thank you for saying that shit, saying that. That is so true. Let me put that on the screen. All right. Thank you very much for that. Okay. So listen to this. The core insight of the off-label mortgage. This is my new book that's coming out. The core insight to the off-label mortgage. Duration is not the prescription. It is the misuse. So staying in, we have been made to feel that because the payment is lower, that it is okay to stay in this mortgage for 30 years. No, the payment is lower to give you more options. So you can know how to give the bank back their money in a way that makes it impossible for them to charge you interest. And in my new book, I break it down this way. The house is the asset, okay? If you're thinking of in terms of medical jargon, the house is the patient, okay? The interest is the disease. The mortgage is the medicine. The interest is the disease and the mortgage is the medicine. So what we want to do is make sure that we can reduce the amount of exposure to interest. And everything we have learned that is supposed to be helpful, everything we've learned makes us more exposed to the interest long term. Okay. So no ethical treatment is designed to last indefinitely. So if you're taking medicine, if you're trying to help yourself, it is not supposed to last forever. Okay. You're supposed to take the medicine to get better, not to make you more comfortable in the disease. Who wants to stay comfortable in the disease? So that's what mortgage interest is designed to do. It is to make us feel comfortable so that we can continue to pay it forever while we are going on vacation, while we are putting our kids through college, while we're living a great life. We have this house that we're in. We can pay all of our bills, okay? But we don't realize that 35 to 39% of our income pays interest, and everything is designed to keep it that way. Oh my gosh. Okay, listen to this part. Listen to this part. Paying a mortgage for 30 years is not responsible by default. It is often off-label use. You know, when you take a medicine, it's for a specific purpose. And sometimes people take medicine that has an off-label use. And sometimes it's beneficial, but other times it's not beneficial at all. So when you take a medicine, let's take antibiotics for instance. You realize that the label use is when you get prescribed antibiotics, you're supposed to take the entire course of antibiotics. You don't take it until you feel like stopping. Okay, that's off-label use. Label use is to take the antibiotic until the course is finished, until all the pills are gone. Why is that? Because if you don't take the full course, the bacteria that you're trying to kill may stay dormant in your body. And if you don't kill it completely and you stop taking the antibiotic, what happens? The bacteria becomes antibiotic resistant. And so if you get that problem again and you start to take antibiotics, it will not kill the bug because it has become resistant to the antibiotics. So the label use is to take it until it's done. The off-label use is to take it until you feel better. Okay? Don't do that. All right? So what else do I have here? Why low rates feel like safety, but they aren't. We're told, even listen, let me read some more to you. Let me put some more of this on the screen. Okay. Let me see. Let me add this, share screen. Okay. We're going to share this put this on the screen here. All right. There we go. And it's coming up. There we go. Let's put this on the screen. There we have it. Okay. So it describes how homeowners with historically low rates feel financially trapped. Okay. That is one way of looking at it. Let's see. Let me show more. Let me see what else I have here. Okay. A high rate disadvantage. Do you see the language here? The language is right here is high rate disadvantage. Current rates are significantly higher, often double or more, meaning a new mortgage would drastically increase monthly payments. Not necessarily. Not necessarily. You have to do the math on your own. And let's just say, listen, if you're making more money now than you were back in 2020, okay, you're making more money now. So that means you can afford more house. And your payment should reflect that so that you're not paying more than, like, say, 28% or 30% of your income on housing. Those people who can afford the higher interest rate and the house that they want still don't, because they think they are letting themselves down by giving up that sub 3% loan or the sub 4% loan to get a 6.5% loan. And now they got to tell their friends, I moved out of my 2%, my 2.9% house into my 6.5% house. And everybody looks at them like they're crazy because we are taught that the higher interest rates are automatically worse. And they're not. Actually, they're better. And I'm going to be able to show you that today. Let's see what else do we have. The handcuff. Look at this. The desire to keep the low payment acts as a financial handcuff, preventing them from moving, even for jobs, growing families, or downsizing. The very thing that you need to do, you feel it's wrong to do because you're giving up such a quote unquote great rate. Folks, those low rates are designed to lower your ability to save interest. That's what they're for. And I'm going to prove it to you today. What else do we have here? Stuck in place. Homeowners may stay in undesirable homes or neighborhoods due to the financial penalty of moving. Do you see the language? If I get a higher interest rate, I am suffering a penalty instead of staying in this good rate of 3% or 2.9% or 4%. This is the language we're dealing with. So let's see what else we have here. I was reading some others. Okay, golden handcuffs. There's a whole discussion here on Reddit, how they're talking about it. Low rates keep homeowners in golden handcuffs. This is from realtor.com. Okay, let's see what realtor.com has to say about it. Oh, come on and load. There we go. Here, look at this. Low mortgage rates are keeping homeowners in golden handcuffs. Look at this. Look at this picture. Okay. This is a house we don't want. This is a house we don't need. We need a better house, or we need to move for a better job. But because we have this low rate, we want to keep it because everything we've ever been told, everything that we've ever heard says the low rate is the best rate. So they stay in here. Let's read a little bit of this. Let's just read just a little bit. Homeowners who were lucky enough to secure historically low mortgage interest rates. Lucky enough? Do you hear the terminology? Lucky enough to secure historically low interest rates during the pandemic aren't budging. And that's putting the brakes on the housing market. So we have higher interest rates, and it's about 80% of mortgages right now. About 80% of mortgages right now are 4% or less. If 80% of mortgages right now are 4% or less, and they feel like they are handcuffed to that house because of that low rate, they're not selling their house. So that means that houses aren't being exchanged. That means that there is low inventory. People aren't buying. All right. The builders are saying, why am I continuing to build when nobody's buying the house? Because 80% of my potential buyers have a 4% interest rate or less. Therefore, they're not buying. They're not going to sell their house to somebody who needs it, maybe a starter home. And when they're not buying my new house that I just built that better suits their needs, that they can well afford, but they don't want to give up the rate because we have not been taught to do the math, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to get into some of that math today. All right. A recent report from realtor.com mirrored by, what is this, Cotility data shows that over half of American homeowners, 52.5%, had an interest rate below 4%. Now this is 52%. I read another article that says 80%, but let's go with this. Okay. As of the second quarter of 2025, that's 2 percentage points below current rates that have been stuck in in the low to mid sixes range for the last couple of months. The difference between having a 4% mortgage rate and a 6% mortgage rate could mean hundreds or even thousands of dollars in savings each month. I need you to hear this, okay? What they're looking at is, if I keep the loan for 30 years and they're taking that amount of interest and dividing it by 360 months, saying this is how much extra interest you are paying, because the idea of the 30-year mortgage has become the standard, and it was never supposed to be the standard. Now, when I do a presentation, and I'm going to be going to uh, Dallas Fort Worth area at the end of January, and I'm going to be telling the folks there that your 30-year mortgage was never supposed to last 30 years. It's supposed to last between 7 and 9 years because of how it is structured. You can make the thing work for you. Now, because I'm going to Dallas, when you go to a bigger city, all right, that is, and there are a lot of people there that make a lot of money, you see some expensive cars. So on one of my slides, I have a brand new Maybach, all right, and then and I have a house right next to it, a $200,000 car and a $200,000 house side by side. Do you know, if you buy a $200,000 car on time, right, making payments, you have to have that car paid off in 7 years or less? Did you know that? 7 years or less. That's it. You can't get a 30-year auto loan. So if a car has to be paid off in 7 years, why is it that a $200,000 home has to take 30 years to pay it off? Have you ever thought about that? I want you to think about it. Even for real estate investors who can well afford to save interest, gain equity faster and cheaper, they stay in those things for 30 years because the very people that they learned this from are telling them there's no need to pay this house off before 30 years if you are making money on it. It doesn't matter how much interest you're paying. What matters is what your cash flow is. That's where they focus, on cash flow, not interest. So what if we started to focus on interest more, ladies and gentlemen? What if we did that? Okay. So I see some folks here on Clubhouse. If you want to see what we're talking about, you can go to YouTube and take a look at this thing as well. So in other words, let's go back to the article here. In other words, a homeowner with a 3% mortgage rate may feel unwilling to sell their property because they do not want to relinquish their low rate, contributing to a slowdown in new listings and sales. This is particularly true for move-up buyers, empty nesters, and those who would otherwise relocate. I'm not going to relocate because I have to give up my low interest rate. Okay. Let's see. Dr. Selma Hepp tells Realtor.com. Now, this is somebody who's a PhD, ladies and gentlemen. Listen to this. A PhD tells us in some markets, inventories remain more than 50% below pre-pandemic levels. Okay. What is going on here? Because we're taught this, and you will not find this anywhere else on the internet, only on the P.I.L.L method. So this is why I need your help. I need you all, whether you're watching me live or the replay, please go ahead and subscribe to this channel and tell other people about it and tell them that they need to watch this particular episode, especially if they feel locked in and they're afraid to buy because they have to go to a higher interest rate, thinking that they're going to hurt themselves long term. They think they hit the jackpot because they got a 2.9% interest rate or a 3% interest rate or a 4% interest rate. They think they hit the jackpot when the banking system says, I have you right where I want you. And everything we're teaching, everything that's going out, we're letting people know that you don't want to give up that low interest rate to get a higher interest rate. Now, you would think the bank would say, you know what? Let's teach this thing backwards so we can get more people into the higher interest rates so we can make more money. No, they want you to stay in the lower interest rate so that they can make more money, because it is the exposure, long-term exposure to interest rates that matter to them. And at the lower interest rate, you stay exposed to interest longer. A low interest rate, ladies and gentlemen, does not mean low interest costs. Let's take this off the screen, okay? So in reality, the interest rate does not determine total cost. I need you to hear me now. Listen to this. The interest rate does not determine total cost. Time inside amortization does. The longer you stay exposed to amortization, the more money they make. We never thought about it that way. We just thought that by getting my interest rate, that's the way to control how much I pay. No. You want to control a mortgage? Listen to me closely. Control the principal payment and you control the loan. Interest payments you skip do not matter. All right. We're going to get into some of this today, but I need to go over some of some of my notes here so that I can share with you what's really going on and set you up. I've got some new books coming out. Some of them are going to be free. All right. But we're going to set up a community in this next year so that we can focus on the truth of the matter. Okay. We're setting up a community, and in February, I will be doing a 5-day challenge teaching you all of these things, how to deal with interest, how to deal with the interest rates, how to do the math on your own, how to read an amortization schedule, how to create an amortization schedule. And I'm going to teach you how to beat the bank at their own game using an amortization schedule. All of this is coming up in February. Plus, we're going to be teaching people to do what I do. We're going to set up a certified P.I.L.L method course so that you can do what I'm doing now, teaching others. Now, listen to this part. One of the most misunderstood ideas of housing finance. Here it is. Longer amortization creates more control, not more debt, when used correctly. I need you to hear me. Longer amortization creates more control, not more debt, when used correctly. That's why you want a 30-year amortization in order to pay the house off in 7 to 9 years, not just the house, but all of your debt. You want the longer term because it helps you to pay it off in 7 years. Don, you're talking crazy. You're talking crazy talk. Okay. Somebody online is saying here, what do you have to say, Jay? It says, so if I expose myself to a higher interest in a new house, how is that more beneficial? It's counterintuitive. You better believe it's counterintuitive. It's supposed to be. It's supposed to be counterintuitive so that you'll stay longer at the lower rate. And so I'm going to do a couple of more points here, Jay, and then I'm going to put some math on the screen. Could that be all right, Jay? Could I listen? I'll go over some of this so that you can see the numbers for yourself. Okay. So a 30-year structure lowers required payments, preserves liquidity, and increases optionality. It increases your options. That optionality is not permission to stay longer. It is leverage to leave sooner. Oh my gosh, folks, I need you. Now, I finished the first draft of my manuscript on this, on the off-label mortgage, talking about how all of this works. It's done. I need some people who will actually read it for me. I'll give it to you for free. If you go to my Instagram, look up P.I.L.L Method on Instagram and message me the word mortgage with your email address, I will send you a copy of the first draft of my manuscript, The Off-Label Mortgage. All right. So go ahead and do that. Now that's going to be good for 1 week. All right. Today is, so people who are watching this, all right. And so by January 7th, that offer will no longer be valid. So if you're watching this after January 7th, that offer is no longer valid. I'm just letting you know. So if you want to get a free copy of my first draft of this book, then go to my Instagram, all right, and message me the word mortgage, and I will send that out to you. All right, but don't forget to add in your email address, okay? The optionality is not permission to stay longer. It's leverage to leave sooner. I'm getting a 30-year mortgage instead of a 15-year mortgage, so that the 30-year mortgage can help me to pay it off in 7, because the 15-year mortgage does not. I know it's counterintuitive. All right, I know it's counterintuitive. This is why, with the same budget, it is often easier to eliminate a mortgage in 7 to 9 years at the higher rate than at a lower one. Higher rates don't trap borrowers. Unexamined duration does. If you're not looking at how long you're staying in the mortgage, if you don't go into this thing with the intention of paying it off in 7 to 9 years, duration keeps you locked in, not the rate, not the payment, not anything else, not the 30-year mortgage. It doesn't trap you. It helps you when you understand the math. Okay? So the real meaning of off-label, right? In my book, off-label is not clever or advanced. It is diagnostic. Off-label use looks like treating the loan term as a mandate. A 30-year loan is not a mandate. It is a way to create options, measuring success by years endured. Now, some people look at the fact that I can pay this mortgage, all right, and I'm never late. It is a badge of honor, okay? Seeking comfort, all right? So the whole system is set up to make you uncomfortable after a while. And to seek comfort, what they're offering is refinancing to a lower payment or refinancing to a lower rate. And what it does is, instead of helping you to solve the problem, which is your exposure to interest, they make you feel better about living in it. That's what's happening here, okay? Staying exposed without an intentional exit strategy, that is off-label use. The structure isn't broken, the assumption is. Now that we've cleared that up, the structure isn't broken. You're assuming that 30 years making the payment less is we're supposed to stay in it for about 30 years, instead of the assumption that a 30-year mortgage actually helps us to pay it off in 7 to 9 years. All right. So now let's go to work here. Let's put something on the screen that's going to show you what I'm talking about. All right. Let's see here. All right. Put that on there. Come on, Brett Whistle. Talk to me. Now you can do some of this on your own. Okay. Go to brettwhistle.net. And as you're watching this or on the replay, you can do some of this on your own to test what I'm talking about. So let's go ahead and put this back on the screen. Okay, here's here's an amortization schedule. The average home now is about $400,000. Okay, average price of the home, and we're going to put it at 6.5% for 30 years. Okay. Now, this person can afford, we're talking about a person that can afford this payment. Is this why Trump is introducing the 50-year mortgage? No, Jay, that's not why. Okay. That's not why. And I actually, a couple of weeks back, if you do research on my YouTube channel, we did an expose on the 50-year mortgage. Okay. No, most people misunderstand it. And therefore they get it. They're going to get a 50-year mortgage based on affordability. And if you get a mortgage based on affordability, you will stay in it way too long. And the amount of interest that you will pay is exorbitant. But if you get a 50-year mortgage as and use it strategically, you can save a lot of money in interest and pay. It's a lot easier to pay off a 50-year mortgage in 7 to 9 years. I'm just saying, the longer the term, the better you can manipulate it. But if you get a 50-year mortgage because of, I'm thinking affordability, I'm thinking lower payment, that exposes you to interest way too long. It is the exposure to interest. It is the exposure to the disease that makes the whole thing sick. I want that amortization, my medicine, to make me feel better and to get me well, because I want the medicine to get me out of debt, reduce my exposure to interest down to 7 to 9 years, and then it's gone. That's what we're talking about. A 50-year mortgage will help us to do that. We're the only ones that I know of that talked positively about the 50-year mortgage. Okay? Now, let's take a look at what we have here. I'm going to put something side by side here. So we're going to take a look at this, and we're going to take a look at somebody who has 2.9. All right. And we're going to do all the comparisons that do that. Okay. That's what I meant. Don't take 50. Just leverage it. That's right, Jay. Just leverage it. Is that why he introduced it? No. He introduced it so his friends could make more money, because people misunderstand it. It was not put in place to leverage. It was put in place for affordability. It was put in place for affordability only, not to leverage it. No one is teaching leveraging like this, but the P.I.L.L method right here, right now. How amortization actually works is not taught anywhere else. It's not taught at any school in America. It's not taught in any financial institution anywhere, how loans actually work. And we're going to get into that right now. So I'm putting on the screen here. We're going to compare all the way down. Okay. The payment on this, let me get rid of some of this advertising because it's distracting. All right. Get rid of that. Okay. So now at 6.5%, our payment is $2,528.27. Let's just say we can afford that. Okay. But what the naysayers are taking a look at is to look at that payment. Look how big it is, whether you can afford it or not. They're also looking at this. How much interest does the bank want you to pay over 30 years? Is $510,177.20. But here is at 2.9%. Look at this, $1,664.92. If I get locked into a payment like this where it's $1,664, I don't want to go to a payment that's $2,528, even though I can afford it. psychologically, it does a number on my head, especially if my friends find out that I gave up, watch this, I gave up a $1,600 payment to take on a $2,500 payment, and they don't understand the math. I don't understand the math. I want to help you, everybody who's watching me and listening to me today. I want to help you understand the math today. Okay. So if you want to see this, if you're listening to me on Clubhouse, you definitely want to see this on YouTube. Okay. And the link is at the top of the page. So let's take a look at what happens here. So when they tell you that the total interest paid is $500,000 here, and the total interest paid here is less than $200,000, they're comparing two 30-year mortgages. You're set up to think 30 years from the very beginning. They're not showing you the difference between paying it off in 7 to 9 years. They're not showing you that at all. They're comparing two 30-year loans, and your mindset is saying 30. You stay in for 30. You stay in. So if you're signing a note, even in your first house, and you're signing, you feel so fortunate to get the house because you had to jump through so many hoops. You had to have a down payment. You had to be pre-qualified. You had to have a great credit score. All right. You had to have some money in the bank. You jump through all of these hoops. And then when you get pre-qualified, you say, oh my gosh, I got pre-qualified. And then when you get totally qualified, you feel as if you've accomplished something. That's a feeling that they want you to have. What they're really doing is vetting you to see if they can keep you in debt forever. It's not that you're accomplishing, is that you have been vetted to see, listen, this person is stable, they pay their bills, and they'll pay their bills for a long time and will not default. We can count on them to be a source of income forever. That's what's really going on here, folks. And I've got another book coming out about that. Okay, so take a look at this, $199,371. So now let's take a look at how the loans are set up. And this is where it comes down to. You need to know how to give money back to the bank in a way that makes it impossible for them to charge you interest. And the way that this thing is set up, all right? All right, so watch this, folks. Watch this, okay? Let me see here. There we go. Now, what's going on here? So we have when you make your payment, $361.60 goes to principal, $2,166.67 goes to interest. We are being told that is bad. When I take a look at the 2.9%, look at the first payment. $698.25 goes to principal. $966.67 goes to interest. We're thinking that is a better deal because more of my money goes to principal, less goes to interest. But what I'm telling you folks is you will stay exposed to interest longer. It is duration, not the size of the interest payment, but the duration, how long you're exposed to the interest, that makes it valuable to the bank. All right. Now, if I can manipulate my principal payment, I can manipulate this loan. I want to show you the truth of the matter here. So if I make a payment here, and I've gone over this before, but never from this standpoint. If I make my first payment coming up in January, my February principal payment is $363.56. I want to show you something here. Okay. Look at these high interest payments. They're tremendous. But it's set up that way so that you, if you have this loan and you don't understand it, they'll make a lot of money off of it. They'll make a lot of money off of it. But what you don't understand is this. What they're charging you, you can save at the same rate. At the same rate they're charging you, you can save at the same rate. Watch this. This is the weakness in the system that they don't want you to know about. I'm making January's payment. February's principal payment is $363.56. If I make my January payment, now, what I'm teaching here is mortgage mechanics. I'm not teaching you what we should do, but understand the mortgage mechanics of this, okay? What if you decided I've got $363.56 in the bank? I've got a little extra money in the bank. What if I make my January payment and I give them, in addition to my January payment, anywhere in January, anytime in January, $363.56. Do you realize they have to subtract that from what I owe, and I'm paid down to line 2 on my amortization schedule? When I make my mortgage payment in January, they will subtract $361.60 from my $400,000 balance. Okay? I start out here at $400,000. They will subtract $361.60. So my new balance is $399,638.40. And so if I give them an additional $363.56, that's showing here, I'm paid down to line 2 in January for only $363.56, which means my next mortgage payment is on line 3. This $363.56 totally eradicated and eliminated line 2 and the interest on that line, $2,164.71 worth of interest I don't have to pay, because how this thing is set up is you're not just paying back a loan, you're purchasing equity. You're purchasing equity, and the amortization schedule is the worst way to purchase equity on the planet if you do it their way. Every time you make a payment, you are increasing your equity, the difference between how much you owe and how much the house is worth. But look at it. You are increasing it in tiny amounts, but you have to pay to get it. $2,164, $2,162, $2,160. That's what's going on here. If you do it this way, you're going to be paying a lot for your equity. But if you understand it, you can get your equity for free. $363.56 applied early means I don't have to give them this money. I don't have to pay them anything to get that much equity. What if we did this? I make my regular mortgage payment here. I take a look at my principal payments, $363.56, $365.53, $367.51. All three of these, okay? Get rid of all three of these interest payments, and my next mortgage payment is here. Listen, folks, that's 2, 4, 6. Over $6,000 worth of interest I don't have to pay when I use these tiny principal payments to my advantage. Now, the people who own the bank understand this very well. The people who work at the bank don't understand it at all. Your real estate agent doesn't understand this, but they should. The mortgage professional that sold you your mortgage doesn't understand this, but they should. I need you to invite your realtors and your mortgage people that you bought your mortgage from to watch this video so that they can learn how this actually works, because when they got their license, they didn't go over this with them. So don't be mad at your realtor. Don't be mad at your mortgage professional. They didn't get this training. It's right here, right now. You're getting it. share it with others. Okay. Now, here's what I'm doing. I'm getting this equity for free if I do it this way. I need you to look at cumulative principal for 1 year, cumulative interest for 1 year. If we go down to line 12, that means $4,470.86. Okay. 25,868.38 went to interest to pay your loan down from 400,000 to 395,529.14. So in 1 year, this is how much interest is paid out. Listen, there's another way to look at this thing. I'm putting a calculator on the screen. Okay. Our payment is this. Okay. We have $2,528.27 times 12. That's 12 months of payments. That comes to $30,339.24. The way that this is set up, when you don't understand it, they make a ton of money. That's why it's not taught. What happens when you prepay? We prepay all the time. We give the bank extra money all the time, but we never know what the result is. If you don't know what the result is, eventually you'll just stop doing it. So out of $30,339.24, this is all we get out of it. The bank gets the rest. Look at that. So here's what I need to ask you. Do I have to pay this $4,470.86 in 12 monthly installments? If I had it, could I give it to the bank on line one? I'm not saying that this is what you should be doing. I'm just showing you the math here, okay, to give you an idea that you can create a strategy that works for you if you know what can happen. So if I give this to the bank on line one, okay, instead of just $361.60 in principal, I give them all of this money for principal on line one. I'm paid down to line 12 on my amortization schedule in just 1 month. Remember, I started out at $400,000. There it is, $400,000. What if I pay them? I'm going to subtract this all at once. $4,470.86. Subtract $4,470.86. Look at that. Equals $395,529.14. Look at this. It's the same thing. Here's what I need to tell you, folks. If I give them this money up front, all the interest I will pay to pay this down to here is only $2,166.67, not the $25,868.38 that they're looking for. Okay. Now, why am I showing you a whole year's worth here? I'm doing this at the higher interest rate because I need to make this clear. At the lower interest rate, here's what's happening. Look at your principal payment now. It's $699.94. If you want to prepay to eliminate 1 month, you make a mortgage payment here. You want to eliminate 1 month at the 2.9% interest rate. Now you have to come up with $699.94. You just decreased your leverage by lowering the interest rate. So now you have to come up with more money to eliminate 1 line. To eliminate 3 lines, you have to come up with way more money to eliminate less interest. Look at that. If you want to eliminate 1 year on this loan because it's a low interest rate, look at this. Now you have to come up with $8,491.31 because of how it's amortized. Lower the interest rate and you make it harder to pay off the loan, cheaper and faster. Your idea is to focus on, how do I limit my exposure to interest? I can lower my exposure my long-term exposure to interest, if I have a higher interest rate and I do strategic prepayments. Look at this. $8,000 I've got to come up with at the 2.9% interest rate to get rid of $11,487.73. Look at here. Let me show you something here. Let me go back. Okay. So I want to pay, if I want to get rid of 1 year. So I'm looking at the numbers. Okay. Look, Don, look at here. There's 25 grand in interest here. There's only $11,000 in interest here. Don't just look at the numbers. Look at the time you're exposed to it. If I can make this easier to take the money that I already have to get out of debt faster and cheaper, I will be exposed. Yes, but the interest payments are higher, but I will be exposed to that interest and for a shorter period of time. And it's going to be easier to knock off big chunks of this mortgage because of the fact that it's a 30-year mortgage, because I'm at 6.5%. So folks, don't feel as if you have to be locked in to your mortgage forever. Okay. Let me get this off the screen. Don't feel as if you have to be locked into your mortgage forever, because it is a low interest rate. If you can afford the payment, get the house that you want now. Okay. Everybody's waiting for the interest rates to drop so you can make the payment to pay off your house cheaper and faster. You want to make it harder on yourself? If you want to know more about this, I have a free resource for you. Go to my Instagram. Okay. Just search P.I.L.L method on Instagram. Go to my Instagram, put in the word and message me the word mortgage. I will send you the first draft of my new book, the manuscript. Okay. I will send you the manuscript for free. All right. Just send me your email so I can send it back to you. All right. And then, this is an offer that's only good for 1 week. So go ahead, get this manuscript so that you can learn more about the off-label use, how we have gotten into the idea of staying in debt forever and exposing ourselves forever to interest when we could. What do we need to do to set ourselves up for success? So the higher interest rates actually work better. So Jay has another question. So how do I get the bank to accept my cumulative principal amount for 1 year in advance? I'm not saying that's what you should do, Jay, but if you wanted to, they have to accept it because that's the rules in your mortgage. If you'll look in your mortgage papers, okay, usually on the mortgage note page, it says something like this, that you have the right to prepay the mortgage. You have the right to prepay it. If you won the lottery, Jay, if you won the lottery, all right, no matter where you are in your mortgage, it says, oh, I can stroke a check for the whole thing now. All right. So you still owe $350,000 on your $400,000 home. If you wrote a check for the whole 350,000, and you gave it to them, wouldn't they accept it? You better know they would. They have to. They have to. They have to. This is what gets me so excited. This is what makes me so happy, that people start to get it and understand that if I can pay off the whole thing, I can pay it off in pieces and parts. Doesn't that make sense, Jay? Look at this is what Jay says. How do I get them to accept it? They have to accept it. They have to. Okay. And only you will know. Okay. Only you will know how much interest you are saving, because we're going to help you to calculate it. So in the new year, you're going to become part of our community. so that everybody in the P.I.L.L method community can become interest cancellation experts to learn how all of this should have worked from the beginning. You do not have to pay all of that interest. Okay. You do not. And how we do that. And I'm going to show you one last example. I've showed this before, but some of you are seeing this for the first time. All right. This is going to make it abundantly clear. So what we're going to do is go back to the 70s. Okay. Let's bring up Brett Whistle here. We're going to go back to the 70s. And one guy I heard talking on the news yesterday, he said, I got a house back in the 70s, but my interest rate was 18%. And he groaned, and everybody he talked to groaned about an 18% mortgage. And let me tell you something. This was the best rate available at that time. 18% on $70,000. Okay. So that was the median home price, $70,000. So we're going to put in an 18% mortgage. Okay. Here is, okay, watch this, Jay. I'm confused. On the one hand, you're explaining this mind-blowing strategy. On the other hand, you say, you're not saying, okay, what gives? Here's what I'm saying. I'm showing you, I'm explaining how mortgage mechanics works. Here's what you want to do. You want to take it one step further, and you want to pay the right amount at the right time so that you can increase the amount of interest you're saving per dollar. I'll show you that in just a minute, Jay. Okay. So it's not just enough to throw money at the loan. I'm just giving you the basics here. When you get it down right, when you get it down pat, you want to pay the right amount at the right time, on the right day of the month, on the right loan, so that you can eliminate the most interest per dollar. So think of it this way. If you can set yourself up to save $6 in interest for every dollar, do you want to do something that will cause you just to save $3 in interest for every dollar? That's where we're going next. So that's what gives, Jay. This is what I'm talking about. So just because I'm using these examples, okay, that's okay, Jay. Listen, everybody does. Everybody does. Jay says, I'm getting ahead of myself. Thank you, Jay, for being patient. So watch this. Watch this now, okay? I want you all to see this. This is an 18% mortgage. The payment is $1,054.96. People who don't understand it are looking to do this. Pay $309,000 on a $70,000 mortgage. That means total interest paid as a percentage of principal is 442.5%. If you stay locked in for 30 years, don't look at this thing as affordability, folks. Always look at your mortgage as strategic. You want to move from a person who is a borrower of money, okay? You want to move into being a person who is strategic with borrowing money. Not just for affordability, but how can I borrow the bank's money, get a big old benefit for borrowing the money, like my house, and then learn how to pay them pennies on the dollar for the use of that money? Not what they want to charge. This is what they want to charge. This is what they're looking for. Now, I want you to take a look at this mortgage and tell me, based on what you've learned today, what can you be doing instead? All right? Take a look at that. I want you to study it for just a minute so that you can appreciate what we've talked about today. Do you see these? Do you see these principal payments? All right, are you looking at it? $1,000 going to interest, but the principal payment is $4.96. Okay, everybody who's watching this or listening to this, do you get what we're going now? Okay, look at that. I'm telling you, this is good stuff. This is good stuff. If I make this mortgage payment, only $4.96 out of the money I just paid, okay, goes to principal. The next month, $5.03 goes to principal. But if I prepay the $5.03, I don't have to pay the $1,000 in interest, do I? Look at that. I need you to add up all the principal for 1 year, Jay, and everybody else who's watching and listening. All the principal for 1 year comes to $64.67. If I prepay the $64.67 on this mortgage, I kill all of this interest and knock off 1 year off this mortgage. Because of the higher interest rate gives me more leverage. Leverage means this. I want to put in a little bit of effort to lift a heavy object. A little bit of effort, that's leverage, to lift a heavy object or to do a lot of work. So the high interest rate gives me more leverage. Now, am I saying go out and get an 18% mortgage? No, I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying whatever you have, you can deal with it so that you're not tricked into buying down the rate or letting someone else buy down your rate. You're not tricked into saying, stay in a house because I have a 2.9 when you could well afford the house that you want and the interest rate on that is 6.5. Don't get trapped. The golden handcuffs don't exist. You were never trapped. You were just made to feel trapped. Okay? So look at this. $64 gets rid of 1 year on this thing because of how it's amortized. Look at this. $142 prepaid gets rid of 2 years. Oh, thank you, Jay. You guys are not seeing that. Let me go back. Dang it. Thank you, Jay. He says it's not on the screen. Now, take a look at this. Okay? We're going to start over. $70,000 at 18%. Here's my payment. $1,054.96. Okay? There it is. Here's how much interest they want you to pay, $309,000, which is total interest paid as a percentage of principal. This is called the tip, 442%. 442%. Isn't that something? This is crazy. So look at this. Look how tiny the principal payments are. Remember what I said. Control the principal payment and you control the loan. Control the principal payment and you control the loan. Interest payments I skip don't matter. Okay? About $15. Look at here. A little over $15 prepaid on this loan kills over $3,000 worth of interest because it's an 18% mortgage on $70,000. Do you realize it was easier to pay this loan off at 18% for your parents and grandparents than it is for us to pay off a mortgage at 2%, at 6%, at 7%? It was a lot easier for them to pay it off early at 18% than it is now. Does that make sense, Jay? Does that make sense to everybody that's listening to me on Clubhouse? Does that make sense? If you want to know more about what we're doing here, if you want, listen, you want to contact me directly, my business card is ceodon.com. ceodon.com. Contact me directly. If you also want to get a savings report telling you the month, day, and year you can be debt free, go to ceodon.com and click on the button that says get a savings and earnings report. It's free. It's a free report that breaks down how much interest you have left to pay on all of your debt, how using P.I.L.L method strategies, we're going to show you how to cut that by about 75% with your current budget. And most of our clients pay off all of their debt in about 7 to 9 years, okay, by using these strategies. So if you want to know more, you can get my free book, all right, by going to Instagram, finding P.I.L.L method on Instagram, and then message me the word mortgage and I will send you the first draft of my new book. And you will have a copy, original copy of my manuscript. All right, before it goes to print. Okay, so that is called the off-label mortgage. No, not the off-label mortgage. Yeah, the off-label mortgage. I'm going to send that to you. The off-label mortgage. That's the one I'm going to send to you. Okay. I just finished that. Okay. Now I need you to take a look at this. Look at this. $142 knocks off 2 years. Look at this. 24 months. $234. Okay. Now, Jay, back to you. I wanted you to, because you asked the question. All right. Hold on. I got to do a quick message here. Hold on. Thank you for your patience. There we go. And it's almost done. There we go. Boom. Okay. All right. So here's the thing. Here's what we're going to do, Jay. We're going to go back to this, and I'm going to show you a couple of things. So we have a $400,000 mortgage at 6.5%. Okay. I've already showed you that if I prepay this, I can save this much interest. So if I put that in my calculator, I can figure out how much interest I'm saving per dollar. So we're going to put in 25,000. I'm sorry, 23,000. 23,723. Let me highlight this for you. Okay. There it is. Okay. That's what we're going to be putting in to our calculator. Okay. 23,000 723 and 85 and 723 and 85 cents. There we go. Now we're going to prepay this amount, the 4470.86. So let's prepay that. That's 1 year's worth. Okay. So if we prepay it, all right. So we're going to divide it by 4470.86. I prepay that, but this is my benefit. This is interest I don't have to pay. So let's divide it by 4,470 and 86 cents equals, look at that, $5.30. So it's 5.306 or $5.31. So for every dollar you put on the mortgage at this juncture, you're saving $5.31 in interest you don't have to pay. That's pretty good to know, isn't it? So, but what if I have enough money? What if I have enough money? Write that down, 531, that's what we're saving. What if I have enough money to do 3 years worth? Look at this. I can prepay $14,330.92, and I could save $74,595.39 and knock off 3 years. What if I can afford to do that instead? Okay, let's do that math. Okay, so let's clear this out. We're saving $74,000 now, $74,595 and 39 cents. And we're dividing it by the amount we're prepaying, 14,000 here. 14,330.92 equals $5.21. So there's a point at which more is too much, Jay. You don't want to pay too little. You don't want to pay too much. Now, somebody might look at that and says, well, Don, if I can do that, why wouldn't I want to pay more, even though it's less per dollar? And here's why. When you pay more to debt reduction than you should, you give up the ability to take that excess money and invest it and make compound interest with it. I have a client here, right here in Huntsville, Alabama. That's where I live. In Huntsville, I have a client in Huntsville, and they're making more money now than they made when they first started our program. So they kept adding to, we have an AI system that they're putting their funds in, and the program tells them, like financial GPS, what to do and when. So by putting all that money in there, the money they're making now, they're able to pay off the last $263,000 that they owe. They're able, let me take this off the screen so I can take up the full screen here. Okay. They're able to take off the last $263,000 that they owe. They're able to pay it off in 3.5 years using our system. And they're only going to pay $16,000 in interest. Well, when he told me that, okay, the program doesn't tell you when you're overpaying. It just tells you the results of what you're doing. So I told him, you're paying off the loan too fast and you're not paying enough interest. He says, I thought that was the idea. Okay. He was doing well and he was feeling good about it. I said, now tell your program you're making $2,000 a month less. So we went in and we made the alterations. We made the changes in the program. And now we told the program he's making $2,000 a month less. So the program gave him a different readout. It says, now you're going to be out of debt in 6.5 years, not 3.5. You're going to pay $20,000 in interest instead of 16. He says, well, why would I do that? It's taking me longer and I'm paying more money. I said, well, what would you have to do what you want to do? He says, I want to pay it off in 3.5 years. So I want to put my $2,000 a month back in. And I said, for 3.5 years? He says, yes. I said, now let's do some math outside the program. Okay. That's $2,000 a month that's 36 months for 3 years, and another half year. That's another 6 months. That's 42 months. 42 months at $2,000 a month going towards debt reduction. That's 84 grand. You want to put 84 grand into debt reduction so that you can go from paying $20,000 in interest down to $16,000 in interest just to save 4 grand. You want to put $84,000 into debt reduction just to save $4,000 in interest? I said, is that how you want to spend your money? He said, oh, no. He was so focused on paying off the loan, he lost focus on why he was doing it in the first place. He wants to optimize interest savings. And when optimizing interest savings, that means that for whatever dollar I put towards it, I want to save the maximum amount of interest I possibly can. And once I reach the maximum, putting any more money in lowers my benefit. So when we can figure out what is the right amount of money to put towards debt reduction, the rest of the money can go towards wealth creation. So do you know what he did instead, Jay? What he did was he took out a HELOC on his current house so he can get the down payment to build a new house, okay? $700,000 house, which is, listen, when he did that, this house is worth about $1 million now. Okay. Built it for 700,000, but it's worth about $1 million now. All right. So now he put a renter in the old house. And so any extra money he has now can go towards building equity in a new house at a greater rate. So now he's going to be able to pay off both houses in about 10 years and have $1 million plus in equity. Jay, I know. Jay says, you're blowing my mind. You're blowing my mind. So Jay, reach out. Okay. Listen, I'm going to give you guys our business number. This is the last day of the year. Our business number is, I'm putting it in, there's 256-886-1867. All right. 256-886-1867. I'm also going to put it on Clubhouse. All right. 256. Let me see here. Somebody put that in the chat for me if you're on Clubhouse. 256-886-1867. Put that in the chat for me. I would appreciate it. 256-886-1867. All right. Give me a call. Tell the receptionist when you call, just leave a message. They'll get me the message and I'll call you back. Okay. All right. It doesn't come straight to me. Okay? We vet all the calls. So when the receptionist gets that, tell them your name, and give them the phone number. I'll call you back and we'll chat for a few minutes. Okay. All right. So anyway, I want to thank everybody for hanging out with us on the last day of the year. I hope this makes sense. I've got a whole lot more that's going to go into, I'm writing 3 new books. All right. I've finished 2 of them and I'm working on a 3rd one so that we can start teaching our community all of this. You can become an interest cancellation expert. You can learn how to ICE. Let's see, that's the acronym. ICE is the acronym. All right. You can learn how to ICE your loans. We're going to teach you how to do all that. You can become an interest cancellation expert because interest cancellation eliminates your loan. You don't want to pay off your loan. You want to eliminate your exposure to interest. That is it. That should be your intention. When you go into a 30-year loan, it should be your intention to pay off not only the loan, the mortgage, but all of your debt in 7 to 9 years. And you don't have to throw all of your money at it to accomplish the goal. A small amount of money kills a ton of interest. So here's the last thing I want to leave with you folks. If you work with us, we'll show you how to pay the least amount of money that you have available, not the most, the least. That's what leverage is all about. How to pay the least amount of money that you have available in any given month to kill the maximum amount of interest that's mathematically possible for you. And you don't do it every month. You only do it at strategic times during the year. All right. Listen, somebody says here, I need this. All right. Says, I need this in my life again. All right. All right. Look at here. All right. It says, I'll call. I can't wait to talk to you, Jay. Okay. Thank you, Jay. Appreciate that. Okay. And let's see what else it says here. I can't wait to talk to you. I also messaged you on Instagram for the manuscript. All right. So folks, listen, do that because that offer for the manuscript is only good for a week. It is only good for a week. Take advantage of that today. Message me the word mortgage with your email address, and I will send you my manuscript for free so that you can start understanding this. It is called the off-label mortgage. You're going to like it. You're going to like it. I've got some other things coming up. And one of my new book that's coming out is called The Mortgage Matrix. Okay. The Mortgage Matrix. We're going to learn how to escape a system that was designed to keep you failing. How to escape a system that was designed to keep you failing. The Mortgage Matrix. Oh my gosh. You're going to love that book. Oh man. I get excited just thinking about it. Okay. So any last questions before I get out of here? Anybody got any last questions before I leave? All right. Either on Clubhouse or watching me online. All right. So go ahead. Please go ahead and subscribe to our channel. Tell other people about it. We want to make sure that we get to 10,000 subscribers in this new year. Stay tuned. We're going to be sending out information on our challenge that's coming up, a 5-day challenge. You're going to spend 5 days with me. All right. In February, the first week in February is going to be our challenge. And we're going to learn a lot of stuff, a lot of this stuff. And I'll be able to, because an hour just is, listen, I was only supposed to be here an hour and I've almost been here an hour and a half. There's just too much information to pack into an hour. So you want to stay with me for a whole for 5 days, and everybody. So for my 3 new books will be available at that time, and we're going to be using that as the background for our education on how to beat the bank at their own game, how to borrow money at a discount, how to leverage money like a champ. We're going to be teaching you all of these things so that you can build wealth, use debt to build wealth. It is going to be an amazing time. All right. Jay says, great stream. Thanks from Los Angeles. Thank you for your participation, Jay. I appreciate you. And everybody else that was here on Clubhouse. Glenda, Anthony, Kim, Troy. All right, Troy, I didn't see you raise your hand, Troy. Okay, come on up. You still here? I'm trying to invite you up, Troy. Sorry, I didn't see your hand. If you're still here, come on up. All right. Troy, how's it going?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, it's going good. And you?
I'm doing great. Listen, I'm feeling really good about our direction we're going to be taking in 2026. Did you have a question or a comment?
A couple questions.
Sure.
I was wondering, does the strategy have the same effects on a HELOC?
I love HELOCs. Yes. See, the whole thing, anything that's amortized, you want to save money on. The whole purpose of debt is not to pay it off. The whole purpose of debt is to pay as little interest as you possibly can. And we could definitely do that on a HELOC, can't we?
Yes.
We just have to know how. Okay. I have somebody here, the Prestige Automotive says, thank you. All right, Prestige. I like it. So, Troy, what's your next question, if you have one?
Actually, I've just refinanced a loan
Uh-huh.
from a higher interest rate down to a lower interest rate.
Yes.
And now that I heard that presentation, I'm thinking I probably should have kept the higher interest rate.
Well, listen, Jay, we're all, Troy, we're all taught that way. Okay. We're all taught that way. So don't ever feel bad about doing the best you know how to do at that time. But guess what? We can take a look at the amount of interest that you have left to pay. How would you like to cut that by 75% and keep your budget the same?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
There you go. You can go to my Instagram, all right? Or go to ceodon.com and click on that button that says get a free savings and earnings report. Get that report and we'll go over that. All right. And if you want to call me offline, you can. Today I'm giving my number out. Okay.
Okay. And I have some preliminary numbers on a house that I have paid off, and where I was contemplating getting a loan in which they advance money on the future value.
Yes.
And
I've heard of those.
It shows if they give me X amount of dollars, and then if the house appreciates X percentage over the period of the loan, it shows how much you would owe them when you pay it off.
Right, when you sell the house.
Exactly. Or refinance out of it. And I can't tell if it's a good deal or a bad deal. So,
well, listen, let me talk to you about that, because you're better off getting a HELOC, all right, and dealing with your equity that way. And here's why. Because psychologically, what part of the country do you live in?
I'm in Georgia.
Oh, you're in Georgia. You know, I'm in Huntsville. I'm right in the Atlanta area.
Yes, I am. I didn't realize you were in Huntsville until this morning. But
yeah. 3.5 hours away. I'm going to be. My wife and I are going to be in Atlanta the weekend of the 16th. So reach out to me and we'll touch base while we're in town. But anyway, yeah, you'll feel bad because you're in Atlanta. Houses are going to explode in value. You're going to feel good about the money you make on that. You're going to feel bad about the fact that I got to give them a whole lot more money than I was planning to. even though you're still winning. We still win, but if I got to give out, a ton of money to somebody else, because man, if I had just done something else, I could have kept all that money. Psychologically, it's going to weigh down on you.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where we're going to go with that. But yeah, you want to be able, when it comes to these types of deals, you want to do what's called an opportunity cost calculation. If I do it this way, what is my potential for earnings? If I do it another way, what is my potential for paying out? And then you can weigh the two ideas, and then you can make a decision. But we cannot make a decision, a financial decision, based on how we feel. It has to be based in the numbers. And banking depends on the fact that we feel our way through this. This is why I do my show, so people can actually see the numbers. Does that make sense to you, Troy?
Oh, 100%. And then my comment was that I think you just unlocked another problem that I have, in that I'm a licensed real estate agent.
Mhm.
And when you just explained that if you learn this method,
Mhm.
it will help buyers realize that they don't have to wait to buy
Yes.
because of a higher interest rate. If I can show them this strategy in a numerical way and attack their emotions at the same time, then I just open up a whole new list of potential buyers.
You most certainly will, and I'll teach you how to do that. Not only that, Troy, but some of your buyers who are going to buy anyway, they're working with builders that get a new build. What are those builders doing to incentivize people to buy from them?
They're offering to buy down the rate.
Yes. They're offering to buy down the rate. Listen, I'm gonna put that on the screen. Oh, Lord have mercy. Listen, I'm trying to get out of here, okay? But you keep asking good questions. Let me put this on the screen and let me show you something, okay? So here's a situation here. I've got this $400,000 house at 6.5%, okay? And the builder says, I'll buy it down, okay, get you down to 5.5 and make you feel better. And you can buy from us, all right? So I'm going to say, well, how much is it going to cost to do that? They'll say, I don't know, about $12,000 or so, 12 to 15,000. They'll buy it down so you can buy from them, right? I'm going to say, pay my closing costs instead, and let me keep my 6.5% rate. That means I don't have to pay the $12,000 to $15,000 for my closing costs, correct? So if I put this on here, so I'm looking at this $400,000 mortgage at 6.5%. I have an extra $12,000 I didn't need to use for my closing costs. Could I apply that to principal with my first payment?
Yes.
Ooh, look what happens if you're not looking at this. $12,000 with my first payment knocks off 31 mortgage payments and saves $64,000 in interest. Isn't that crazy?
That's amazing.
So listen, we can help your clients. Listen, you will become a hero to them.
A hero, yes.
Yeah. You'll become a hero to them. Look at Glenda Giles says, game. So put that on the screen, everybody. Oh, and Donnell Miller says here, Donnell Miller online, he's watching us on YouTube. He says, bad deal. They're trying to steal your equity. Do a HELOC instead. So, and that's where we're going to end up anyway. Listen, I advise all of my clients to get a HELOC, whether you use it or not. It's good for 10 years. And you have dry powder if you want to take advantage of an opportunity. But here, don't use that HELOC money to buy stuff. Use it to make money, make improvements in your house. Use it as a down payment on some rental property. Use that money to make money. Don't use it to buy stuff with.
Absolutely.
Okay. Troy, anything else?
Nope, that's it.
Listen, folks, I want you, when I come back here next week, Glenda Giles says, buy more real estate. I love it, Glenda. Listen, you guys have my number. You got my business card. You have and if you take advantage, you can get my new book for free, but only for a week. Okay. So let's get all that done today. All right. This is our New Year's Eve show. When we come back in 2026, I'm going to have more information on the community that we're going to build, the P.I.L.L Method community that we're building, because this is the only place that you're getting this information. And for some of you that are just now meeting me, say, Don, if this is not taught anywhere else, how do you know? Because I have autism spectrum disorder. Okay. I'm on the autism spectrum. So when I look at an amortization schedule, I see the pictures and the patterns. I see stuff other people don't see. So this is where this is coming from. Now, when I show you the numbers, it's kind of hard to unsee it, isn't it? So yeah, do I have a degree in finance? Nope. I was a firefighter for 17 years, and I quit firefighting to do this full time, to teach people what they need to know about this thing once I discovered it. Okay. It is not because I'm a genius. It is because the problems I had in school, the way my brain is wired, I'm good at puzzles. So when I see this, I look at it as a puzzle. So anyway, that's where we are with this, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate you all being here today. All right. It says, Glenda says, you're still fighting fires and winning. Oh, come on, Glenda. I love it. She says, you're still fighting fires, buddy. It's just a different type of fire. I love it. Thank you, Glenda. I appreciate that. So listen, on Wednesdays, we're here live. And us, we're on vacation or something. On Fridays and Sundays, we do a replay from a previous show. So we show live 3 times a week, but we're actually live only on Wednesdays. The other 2 days, we're doing a replay. All right. So anyway, folks, I want to thank everybody for being here today. Enjoy your new year. Be responsible tonight. Don't overdo it. Okay, please. I want to make sure that you're around, and reach out to me. Get this information. Watch some of our videos. Now, if you like shorter videos, you don't like the long form videos, you can look for us on TikTok or Instagram and watch some of our shorter videos. We have one that went up today that you're going to love. All right. It's a shorter video there. So anyway, we'll be back next week, and we're going to be doing more of this to talk to you, give you more game, getting ready for our challenge, and building our community together. Thank you, everybody. If I don't see any more questions, I think that's going to be it. Now, I'm clicking on my buttons here. I got to get an engineer back in here, because they can help me with clicking on my buttons for me. But anyway, I will see you all next week. Goodbye, everybody. Goodbye. All right, so let me do this instead. We're going to get rid of this, and we're going to put this up. All right, yep. Happy New Year, everybody. See you next year.